Guys, welcome to the introduction and discussion with the installation and setup of Awave DSP A10 version 2 OTG ready DSP processor. This is a 10 channel DSP with 8x50 RMS output power available to drive the various speakers. The system that you would often use this for would be if you have a 3-way split with mids and tweeters and perhaps a 3-way full active front and rear fill. The rear fill there shown, you can actually run all of those 8 channels powered, and then you can have an RCA outwards for choosing to drive whichever subwoofer combination you do need. So today we're talking about in depth the Awave DSP A10. This is very similar to the sister Steg MS DSP 10 version 2, also OTG ready. There are some slight differences in features, and we'll go through them and note which one you should choose if you have this application in mind. So firstly, let us consider how the processor actually is set up. So what we have here are the firstly option for high level input. With high level input you can actually go and get the 3 signals, either 2 full range signals you can use just as high level, or you can get all 3 from an active car, the tweeter, the mid and the mid bass, and you'll have a full range signal, and we'll show you how to choose those. And this is your high level if you actually have to get a subwoofer high level input into the processor as well. So those are some extra high level inputs if the low frequency is not represented in the front of your car. So here we have a particular difference. The first difference between the Awave and the Steg is that the Awave has retained an auxiliary input for an RCA input, perhaps from a CD player or DVD player that you have in the car that has RCA out. Then shown are the 10 channels out if you want to use it just as a 10 channel DSP, and this gives you full active control over all 10 channels. Those are some of the considerations when you're putting it in. And here are the features. There is basically your cable to connect to the computer. This speaker output is actually your powered outputs, which give you power to all of the 8x50 RMS channels to run actively. Your remote control, this one contains the blue remote control, which we well accounted with now, has the blue writing on, and it is to have the OTG as an extra input function. It also has optical and digital coaxial in. So with all of these, this makes it the most effective choice for multiple inputs for source units. Now let's discuss a little bit about the installation. Usually you'll get this product from an installer who will be trained by the distributor, and he will be able to give you all the information that you necessarily need. But let's start if you perhaps find yourself in a situation where you need to check the wiring or you want to go through it. Firstly, look at our input stage here. This is basically for your inputs. Firstly, you'll see on the left hand side here, the first 3 are 3 quite thick power cables. They will basically give you sufficient power into the processor in place of, say, a normal power gauge. This does have quite a lot of power, so it needs probably all 3 connected, and then it's 1.5 millimeters of pure copper. Then you have the grounds and the remote in and remote out. These other cables are for you to choose your input stages if you choose high level from your radio. To just have a guideline here, could we go for the presumption that we're going to install inputs and outputs the same as our train? We start with the left hand tweeter 1, right hand tweeter 2, 3 is the mid range on the left, 4 on the mid range on the right, 5 mid bass on the left, 6 mid bass on the right. If you have some problem solving, another installer who takes over from you will be able to follow the same plan to check your diagram. This small wire here is if you have to have the extra subwoofer input for high level input. This you can mix into your signal, and you can use it as an input and an output for your sub, or mix it into a full range signal. Now here is the plug that basically gives you the power to power all of your speakers, the 8x50 RMS. The 8x50 RMS is class AB, and here it goes into this section here. These, as we said, let's try and stick to sharing some common installation ideas. Channel 1 tweeter, channel 2 right tweeter. All the left hand speakers are odd and the right hand speakers are even. And then basically here we have the DSP controller, which is the new blue one, which facilitates the OTG input, which allows you to directly go from your chosen head unit. Many people now want to fit iPads or other devices or their phones directly into the processor. This allows you to do that with the OTG input, and this control is actually really market-leading technology as far as getting source units into a higher resolution to your radio. Okay, now having looked at all the plugs, here is our input wires and the power. These are the output wires. If you use the power, you may choose to just use it as a 10-channel DSP, and then you can. Here is the long-distance Bluetooth aerial. That also screws in. It actually doesn't work so well until you screw it in. I think this assists the grounding of the aerial, and that can be actually give you a further distance for your Bluetooth range on your processor. It comes with a controller and the feet to fit it. So as I said before, this processor is basically used to run tweeters 1, 2, mid-range is 3, 4, mid-bass is 5, 6, and perhaps rear-fill 7 and 8. And then your amplifier will take over the subwoofer duties that you choose that you'd like to drive in your car. 1 subwoofer, 2 subwoofers, and the monoblock would match that. We will actually handle some of the software now, and let's move to the software of the program. Right now this is the newest version, and this is version 3.6 and is available on awaveaudio.com. DSP PC tool version 3.6. When you go into it, this is offline, so we will basically choose the processor we have in front of us. We go down to DSP 10.2. This we're going to connect. We'll connect in the offline mode. Okay, welcome to this. This is actually, there isn't actually any software that's actually this advanced at the moment. There's many people been referring to it, but this really gives us the superb cover. Okay, so how should we start? We start by naming the speakers, and you'll see the reason why we do this. If you choose the first speaker to be front, and you choose left, and you designate a tweeter, what you do get from the processor is a really helpful guide of what a tweeter should be, and they even give you a recommended 4000 high pass. And actually, if you just do the default and basically do all of them like that, the processor will make sure that when you turn on, you don't harm any of your speakers. So then we'll move, as we said, to our tweeter, and then those two would match overlapping frequencies. When we choose a mid-range of number 3 and 4, front, left on our odd numbers, mid-range, this obviously will give you a proper indication of a band pass frequency recommended for a 3-inch speaker or a 4-inch speaker. Then you can tailor it and tune it as you want to, but this crossover, again, like the previous one, if you choose tweeter on channel 1, it gives you a recommended frequency so that when you turn on, and if you haven't done any changes, this basically will protect your speakers. Then when you do your third one, let's make that a mid-bass speaker. The difference is here you'll choose a mid-range woofer or mid-range tweeter. So basically what this will do, it'll give you a high pass and mid-range tweeter. If you choose this to be a left mid-range woofer, you'll see that it gives you a low pass. So then all you have to do is turn on the high pass, and the high pass will offer you a filter. Let's just give a 80 hertz there, say we're using a 6-inch, and this crossed over at 500, and then this frequency then will change to give front right mid-range woofer. Again, put on the high pass, make that an 80 to 500, representative of the speakers that we're using. You can research the frequency response of whichever speaker you're using, and at the moment we'll leave them at Butterworth filters, and that's fine. And then you'll see there that your Butterworth filter, those two channels 5 and 6, when you change them, their colors will actually show which ones they're playing. This one is 80 to 500, and this one should be the same. Let's check it, 80 to 500. So you'll see those two colors will help you choose, and as you test your frequencies, they should actually just change color and retain the frequencies to be the same. You can link them, but this is actually the safest way to do it. Okay. Then if you have rear fill on channel 7, just change this to a front, left. So this is actually not front, sorry, apologies, rear. This is a rear speaker, it's on the left hand side, and you're basically using a mid-range tweeter. So it gives you a high pass, and then you can select a frequency. Basically, some people like a lot more mid-bass in their back speaker to support the front. You can then start this off at 80, and then that will play your whole frequency all the way along for your rear speakers, adding mid-bass or whatever frequency or presence you'd like if you want your car to be louder. Okay, so then when you choose a subwoofer, again, you choose a subwoofer. Let's assume there's one in the car and it's a subwoofer. If you have two subwoofers, you can now change this to two different subwoofer outputs, and that will allow you to have a left and a right, or a front and a rear. So as more and more cars are building a front and a rear subwoofer, you can use each RCA for each one. But at the moment, we've mirrored the subwoofer, and the option offered to you by the preset is 80 Hertz. So really, you've got a good guideline, and we'll go through them there. Channel 1 gives you the tweeter. Channel 2 gives you a bandpass for your mid-range. Channel 5 gives you a bandpass for your mid-bass. And then channel 9 and 10 running your sub gives you that or there. You can then apply this. So what you want to do is go, and before you turn any speakers on, you actually save and load. This will open up this page, and then you save. Let's just start with preset 1. This is the saving of it. Save the preset. Let's see why this one didn't load. So basically you save process number 1. Okay, it's not saving and loading because it's actually not connected. So what you do is you save and load in here. You save position 1 and then you load position 1. Then you've actually got them saved to the processor if you change your mind. Now, this is actually quite interesting, and this is quite an important page. On choosing your inputs, you can actually choose to mix the signals, and this is when you use a high level input. So if you use a high level input and you choose channel 1, then channel 1 will only what's coming in on channel 1 will be represented in the output of your channel 1 and 2. So what I strongly would suggest that if you're looking for a full range 3-way car, you should actually, all of your odd numbers, make them all get frequency from all of your inputs, so that you have a full range frequency coming into your RCAs. Okay, so now all of them are the inputs now for your there. So that basically all the left inputs have now got 100% of their signal in, so you have a fully summed signal when you mix them for channel 1. And you do the same for channel 2. When you open channel 2, you choose what frequencies. You could just use 1 and 2 if the input you think is sufficient from your factory input to give you a clear full range signal for the full range of your signal of what you've chosen to use for which tweeter. There's the auxiliary settings. You mix them the same, and then if your optical interface and your OTG, where you want the OTG to collect signal from on the input. So when you go back, this will actually be representative now. Okay, we'll just go out of save and load, and there's your EQ, and then you'll see that you can change your inputs. This input is mixed. This is the one we've mixed to choose. We want a summed result. So then we can mix channel 2, mix channel 3. At the moment, I've got the setting as if we were basically using inputs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What I would suggest, though, if you use an auxiliary input, that you change this here from high level to aux, and then the RCA input is going to give you all channel 1 and 2 for an input. So that's like an RCA. An RCA input there will give you full range signal from your head unit. This is like an aftermarket head unit, and then you can use the processor as normal, that you basically can choose to have a CD player or high level input into your radio. Now, when we discuss the sources, with your controller you could switch these, but usually if you don't have a controller yet, you choose your source here. Yes, high level. This is when you have to mix the signals coming in. Auxiliary is an RCA input, and then we have the other options, and let's just quickly discuss USB OTG. This USB OTG is a really great function that's now been added to the new processors, and this OTG high quality master stroke cable enables you to connect your devices. This is USB-C, and then you can get the connection to change to an Apple. You get a small adapter on there, and then you can actually choose to use iPhone or an iPad and use the FireWire for direct input into your processor. So these are some of the things that you consider. I would now, if I was doing a car, I would then open up the gain and delay page, and over here we have all of the gains, and what you want to first do is do your delays. So your delays can either be in meters per second or centimeters. Once you've applied them all, over here, here's your centimeters. You take the slider, you can move the slider up, and it moves how many centimeters you want to choose your delay. Once you've done all your delays, that's then sets there, then you do the delay and the next one, the next one, the next one. I would then measure with any device that doesn't have to be that accurate, even a phone application download, if the pink noise SPL is all the same from all of your speakers when you finish setting the time alignment. Then you probably should have a good sounding car already. If not, you can set each one individually, each channel, with the gain slightly to make sure that the SPL that you've decided. I would actually raise the SPL on channel 9 and 10, your subwoofer, by 10 dB. So I would set all of the speakers at 85 dB, pink noise at the head position at the driver's seat. Then you know your time alignment is right and your center will probably be quite accurate. And then if the SPLs are the same, if not, you just touch them up. I would go 10 dB more on my sub, and then I would get quite a natural curve, and then it'll be quite good sounding. Then you can actually go back to the page of the EQ, and then you can apply the time alignment or the save. So as I say, this won't save because you aren't connected to a processor. You save the preset, and then you've got a ready set up processor, and you've got the perfect chance to basically have a really good sounding car, powered by high quality power, given the options of all the inputs, and really sound basic techniques for you to be able to keep the factory head unit and all the functions that you want to retain in your car as within your warranty as possible. So any questions, you can leave them here or contact us directly on our Facebook, and we can give you some more feedback on software or basically how to download it or where to get it. Some of the other points is you can set your master volume. So say you set your radio on, it goes up to 50, you set it on 40, you can actually then set the master volume there, and the sub controller basically sets the sub. Once you have a controller, the controller does this for you, but you can set the bass as you'd like it in the car. And then your auxiliary source you can actually choose there. This is if you choose to put something else into the aux. We don't really use that at the moment, and most of us are going to be using the aux with RCA in or the high level. The high level, let's just note, we need to mix a signal and make sure that you have a full range signal coming out of your processor, and this is key in your installation. So this part here, I would let an installer do, or really, if you're going to try it, take your time and get the connections right. As I say, let's start 1 on the left hand side like we read, 2 on the right, 3 on the left, 4 on the right, and so forth. Okay, so if you have any further questions, these are some of the features for the new DSP A10, and in my mind currently right now I'm the most flexible and user-friendly DSP available to customers in a sound quality or daily listening environment.